Welcome to, I guess, another behind the screen special. I fully intended to do an episode or two of behind the screen of Comprep, but I just ran out of time. A lot of stuff started happening in my personal life, and I needed to focus on that so that I could actually finish the adventures that I was writing for Onyx Path Virtual Con. But you'll notice this is still behind the screen. This is still my show. There's not the format is functionally the same as ever. So a couple of things to get out of the way. I'm not going to give the full disclaimer that I usually have because there is no project. Well, there is. You know what? I'll do it, and then it's out of the way. So, full disclaimer, I do not speak for Onyx Path, nor is this project official material. All views and opinions expressed are my own, and this material will be available to buy on the StoryPath Nexus. Huge caveat, the adventures that I wrote... Hey, Zach, how are you doing? The adventures... I have energy today. You're all doomed. The adventures that I wrote for the convention are not going to be on the StoryPath Nexus for a while, because they're both for games that have yet to be unlocked for the StoryPath Nexus. But as soon as I can, make them live, I will. I'm merely a grateful fan with the platform. I am disabled. I do experience muscle spasms and twitching, which can lead to a slurring of my speech or worsening of my natural stammer, and can be disquieting for some viewers. So if it becomes a problem, I will simply let you all know. Other thing to note is I do struggle with multiple trains of thought, so if I am talking about something and you raise a question in the chat, and please feel free to ask questions in chat, particularly with this stream more than many of my others, as this is just more of a retrospective talk, and then there'll be some writing involved if I get the time at the end. I'm happy to answer questions about running or playing role-playing games. Yes, so important thing to note is, as mentioned, this is a retrospective stream of the Onyx Path Publishing Virtual Convention 2024 that happened this past weekend. I was fortunate enough to be invited to take part in it, so I'll be talking about my experiences as a tech and player and a story guide. And if you try to talk about things that in a way that you can decide if you want to get involved in the next one or take part in the next one or what have you. But first, obviously, with it being Onyx Path's in-house convention, there were... I've just minimized the wrong window. There were announcements up the... Well, not up the wazoo, because that sounds painful, but there were announcements. So the Monday meeting notes is where I'm getting all of this information from, but I know that not everyone has chance or time to read those, so I'm going to revert back to the old format where I'll just read the whole Monday meeting notes out to you, except this time I'll do it a slower, more restrained fashion, so that we can discuss, not discuss, I can highlight the announcements and pay attention where necessary. So the big one, just even if you click that link, you'll notice that right at the top there is a huge Curseborn image. It says Ashcan Edition at the bottom, and that's because the Curseborn Ashcan was released. I will grab the link for that in a moment. Much as with behind the world below and at the gates, Curseborn has an Ashcan, which is it's a vertical slice. It's basically a demo, if you prefer video game terminology. It's a vertical slice of the rules that gives you the rules as they are, as they stand. I've started reading it. At the front, you get the hey. Also, here's the link to the Ashcan. At the front, you get the a very kind of comprehensive overview of the StoryPath Ultra system itself, Onyx Path's in-house system, and then you get I think it's 5 of the different lineages for the accursed, which is so slight rewind. Curseborn being Onyx Path's new horror game. So unlike the Chronicles of Darkness, where it was it's one book per faction, and then potentially splat books based off of how popular that faction is. This is the core book has a whole bunch of factions in it, different kinds of cursed of the accursed. Sorry. You've got the holdovers of vampires, angels, demons, the ghosts as playable options, but they're there. And as like with the other Ashcans, as I say, you get a stripped down version of StoryPath Ultra. You get enough to run the game essentially. You get a selection of the factions that will be available in the full game. You get a selection of the supernatural abilities the factions have access to, and you get pre-generated characters, and you get a scenario to be like, hey, here's how the game. Here's a story that you could tell with this game. As I say, I've started reading it. I'm on the 3rd of 5 factions. I think I'm nearly halfway through the Ashcan, something like that. And you know, Onyx Path does horror well. They have writers who clearly enjoy telling horror stories, and that trend has continued with the Ashcan. Even the front cover being a morgue with a spooky ghost in the background is, on brand. Congratulations for the 5-stream watch streak, Zach. That is an achievement. Also, I see that little moth. I see it. Don't think I don't. But the so that was the big, I guess, headliner, is that not only is Curseborn a thing now that we're talking about now, you can get the Ashcan right now. Oh, also here is an actual play. So anyone who's been paying attention to Onyx Path social media feeds recently, you'll have noticed there have been a bevy of, I just wanted to get the word bevy in there, of character creation streams for Curseborn. And the con was the world premiere of an actual play that was rerun several times throughout on all of the partner channels. More on that later, I hope. So there is, not only can you get the Ashcan and watch those character creation videos, you can also watch an actual play with of the game in action, as you know, as the rules currently stand. If you like to see things before investing in them, which completely understandable. I believe, from what I remember reading, that Curseborn will be hitting Kickstarter in October, or the crowdfunding campaign will be in October. I could be wrong about that. Important to note, if you buy the Ashcan now, it is $4.99. As of the time of recording, it's also the 5th best-selling title on DriveThruRPG. So, you know, there's that. Woo, Eddie. Correct? I like being correct. If you buy it now, if you buy the Ashcan now, it's an advanced PDF. It's not like the final version. So there is a brief period of time which you can read the Ashcan, send any errata, and until the final PDF of the Ashcan is the final PDF of the Ashcan is finalized is a sentence. Not technically incorrect, but the editor within me is screaming out loud. Ah, there we go. For the print on demand version, and just posterity, I suppose. Also, if you want to watch the actual play, it's embedded in the Monday meeting notes, along with a hyperlink. I assume. Other things that were announced for Silent fans like me, I think after Chronicles of Darkness Silence, probably the second Onyx Path game I became aware of, so it has a place in my heart. I mean, to be fair, I was playing Chronicles when it was NWAD, so regardless. Mythic Shards, which again, I say again, I'm going to preface all of this with I was in 4 actual plays at the con. I'm also not in the Eastern time zone. I'm in the UK, so I'm 5 hours ahead of all of the con stuff, of the peak con hours, I suppose. And also, I like to eat, so I didn't actually catch any of the panels. So I'm going off of all of the stuff, all of the information given to me in the Monday meeting notes. But it seems like it's just a whole bunch of mini settings and variant rule sets, which is my jam, which those long-time viewers of the show know that I've already done. Hey, here's Trinity Continuum, a sci-fi game. Here's how to make it horror. So I'm a huge fan of having that tinkering toolkit to alter how your game feels, and without it being a different game, if you know what I mean. So I am pretty hyped for Mythic Shards. There were actually two silent panels, so there is more information provided, I assume, across both of those. They will hit YouTube at some point. But my understanding is that if you are a subscriber to the Twitch channel, I don't know how it works for the second one, because that was aired over at Plastic Age Plays. Certainly the first silent panel, if you're Twitch subscriber to this channel, you can watch all of the con panels as video on demand now. If not, you just have to wait till they hit YouTube or subscribe. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account for a Prime Gaming account, which gives you 1 free sub a month. It does not automatically renew, but it is functionally, at least for you, the same as a Tier 1 subscription. But if you are interested in mini settings, can I tempt you with post-apocalyptic Scion, Cyber Scion, Scions where they're distrusted by the public, Scions as superheroes, or Scions in, and I quote here, space! As well as additional chapters backers may be getting to vote on during the crowdfunder, much as with They Came From the RPG Anthology. Good morning, awkward GM. And then also, surprise announcement for more Scion, No Gods, No Masters, on sale this Wednesday. Correct, the second panel was on Plastic Age Plays. It focused more on the game experience throughout the tiers and any upcoming books. Okay, so probably best to stick here at twitch.tv/the Onyx Path for the Mythic Shards information. Yes, the advanced PDF for No Gods, No Masters, which I believe is an adventure path, will be on sale this Wednesday. I'm just scrolling frantically to see who gets there first, Eddie or myself, to confirm and or deny. Oh god, where's the on sale this Wednesday section? There's a lot of news to get through, would you believe, immediately after a convention. Yes, a series of linked adventures featuring the machinations of a cadre of gods who are working to create a world that has no gods, no masters. I love it when a product title does exactly what it says on the tin. What else was announced at the con? Exalted 3rd Edition, the next Fat Splat will be Infernals. It's a Chronicle book? Fantastic, fantastic. I like these confirmations. I like that sense of affirmation. Yes, the next, the atheist version of Scion. I mean, you could do that, I suppose. Yes, the next, No Gods, No Masters, just adventures. No, let's be honest. It's No Gods, No Masters, just wondering what our players are doing right now. That's my Scion experience. You give your players godlike abilities, and they use them. Yes, the next Exalted 3rd Edition book will be Infernals. For those of you who are Exalted 3rd Edition fans, I believe there is a channel for that already on the Onyx Path community Discord server. There is a Curseborn channel as well. Pugmire creator Eddie Webb, who's that guy? I've never met him. We're talking about the upcoming Threats and Curs monster book. Hint, it's going to be good. I may have insider knowledge. As well as a new book tentatively entitled The Expansion of the Realms, which I think you mean Mythic Sharks. Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. No Gods, No Masters. The game master is dead by the end of Chronicle. Future StoryPath Nexus supplement. What, Mythic Sharks? Is that a follow up to the Atlantis Pantheon and the Scion Companion? I may have written on it, Eddie. May I have? Did I forget writing on Threats and Curs? Yes, Expansion of the Realms. Full disclosure, as Eddie is screaming at me in chat, and as YouTube can see because of the captured chat window, you know, I'm a Realms of Pugmire writer, and therefore it's in my best interests to keep up with the announced titles, in the hopes that I get picked and Senpai notices me. Pending title, Mythic Sharks, yeah, you know what? Sure. That hits the core market of children who roleplay. Which, to be fair, like, I've been running a D&D game for they were kids when we started, for like 5 years now. And kids make good roleplayers. So perhaps Zach is onto something there, and that is the next best-selling StoryPath Nexus supplement for Scion. Speaking of best-selling supplements for Scion, please buy my stuff. After all of that hype, Trinity Continuum Steam Worms is not a book that was announced, regrettably. It sounds very relaxing. Steam Wars was announced as a tangent, a parallel dimension to the Continuum. The late Napoleonic era world with mechs. And if that doesn't get your nerd heart tingling, I don't know what will. That is created by Larry Blameyer. I don't know how that name is pronounced. I apologize to Larry, who I don't know and probably shouldn't refer to as Larry, but there we are. Who does all of the fantastic, or some at least has contributed fantastic art to the They Came From game lines. which is pretty exciting. And I mentioned the world below and at the gates, as they both have Ashcans when I was talking about Curseborn. Reminder, go get the Curseborn Ashcan. The third of the Earthbane Cycle games, Monster Kingdoms. I am led to believe this is what if monsters ruled the Earth, but like traditional fantasy monsters. So there's a definite post-apocalyptic theme happening with the Earthbane Cycle, which, you know, the apocalypse, I guess you could call the Bane of the Earth. I'm just waiting for the Dying Earth tie-in to happen at some point. There's a sci-fi series that I need to actually read. And quote, all of these panels and announcements will be ported over to the YouTube channel in the weeks to come. But there was an entire panel on the Earthbane Cycle, with hints about what to expect from the game. And obviously, more information will be forthcoming in future months. Monster Kingdoms reminds me of the Chrono Trigger timeline, where the monsters won against the humans. Sounds about right from what I remember of the panel of the Monster Kingdoms. Heck yes, my basic reading comprehension of the Onyx Path community server and a couple of a related server is saving my bacon here. Makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about, and people in chat are confirming, so it sounds even more like I know what I'm talking about. I just want to point out that I am 82 episodes into this series. I still have no idea what I'm talking about, and Onyx Path Publishing still hasn't noticed. So if I can make it, chat, YouTube audience, people watching Twitch VOD, you can absolutely make it. More on that to come. An internet glitch and it sent twice? It did. Interesting. Twitch just be like that sometimes. I'm not going to summarize the Onyx Path crew's thoughts on how the event went. I believe their words can do it far better, can convey that far better than in my summary. Done this for 20 plus years and I kind of know what I'm talking about. I mean, there we go, chat. If pillar of game design and all-round good person Eddie feels like that, you can absolutely do it. But yes, I feel like the Onyx Path crew's words can convey it better than I can. Although I will say that I was running tech for some of the stuff, and some of the conversations in the tech about oh god, was it D had a cursed panel? I think it was a whole thing in the tech server. Anyway. I'm just glad that fewer tech things happened, because tech is want to happen, but a lot more could have happened during the con. However, something that also during the con, something con related to note, and also it's the Monday topic of the first bit of the Monday meeting itself. Obviously, Onyx Path Publishing do a lot of stuff with the Badana group. The patterns you ran tech for had no technical issues, just use the error. Hey, that's fair. That'll happen too. And the Badana group, I don't know if you know this, but right now, I'm assuming the bot's set up. Is that right? It is right. Hey. Right now, the Badana group have their own role-playing game on Kickstarter. It's called Branch Riders. It's being made in conjunction partnership with help from Delete as appropriate. Onyx Path Publishing. I know Eddie's been involved in it. I got to play in both actual play sessions, and it is a whole bunch of fun. It's an extremely simple, intuitive system to pick up. The character sheets are not cluttered with too much information, and hey, you can save the day by having a heart-to-heart with someone and helping them get over creative burnout, and that is precious and something that we should focus on beyond just beating the evil out of things. No technical issues that happened to me while running tech was forgetting to unmute yourself in OBS in an AP. I was unmuted on Zoom, but no one listening to stream could hear me. Oh dear, that is a problem. I have OBS set up in such a way that can't happen, fortunately. And yes, as Eddie has said, Branch Riders is hella fun. Branch Riders is hella fun. In one game, big sibling moth person who will punch you if they can't befriend you. And in the other game, aristocrat who duels people to rectify problems, to rectify social injustice. It's great. But there was obviously a panel about Branch Riders at the con, and as I said, there were 2 actual play sessions, both of which worked fine from a tech perspective, and as far as I can tell from an audience perspective, I was active in chat in both of them. So please do check those out when you can. If I were in a better financial position, you can be sure I would be backing it. That is how much I believe in that product. Hello, Plastic Age Plays. How are we doing? And then there's stuff from Jack from the Badana group, who I bonded with over puns in the chat room, promoting their own game. Less virtual con stuff, but Origins Game Fair. Onyx Path will be there, 19th to the 23rd of June, selling books from the Studio 2 and Indie Press Revolution booths. Sorry, I have wind. It's extremely unpleasant. So, yeah, it's current. I finally fell asleep about 2, so better? Well, that's good. Not to brag or anything, but I spent the entire night dozing. I didn't actually fall asleep properly once. Amazing. Would not recommend it. That's why I have energy. Chat, I don't know if you know this about some people, but my energy levels dip when if I have enough sleep, manic. If I don't have enough sleep, manic. If I have, the average amount of not enough sleep, manageable. Also, just as a side note, the Branch Riders art for the Kickstarter, which I believe Bonnie, the GM, said was going to be the cover page. In the rails, this post-apocalyptic adrenaline-fueled wasteland. It really reminds me of Sunset Overdrive. Anyway, moving on from that. That's the current crowdfunding campaign. Coming next from the Badana group, obviously, not from Onyx Path. Relaxation between panels, exercising and mowing the backyard. Oh, I ate between stuff because my first actual plays were over my lunch period, and then my second actual plays were over my evening meal period. So I had a really late lunch / early dinner. But the next crowdfunding campaign from Onyx Path being the Mythic Shards book for Scion, which will hopefully be a lot of fun. This week's Pathcast will be more about Branch Riders. If you're still in doubt as to whether or not you should go and back it on Kickstarter. Curseborn actual play embedded twice within the Monday meeting notes in case you missed it the first time. Between panels, relaxation was hydrating, medication, and naps. Heck yeah, that is what we like to see, people taking care of themselves. Ordinarily, of course, I wouldn't be talking about all of this on the show, but why not? It's the focus of... This is more of a retrospective than anything else. And while I'm deep in the Monday meeting notes, it behooves me to point out that for Onyx Path Publishing's anniversary, there's a whole bunch of half-price stuff on Roll20 supporting their various game lines. On sale this week, as I mentioned, No Gods, No Masters, and also Curseborn Ashcan. As you said in the tech Discord, WTF is a relax. Yes, well, I mean, you took the downtime to prep the schedule for this week, and I took the downtime during my Branch Rider session to reply that this show would be running right now. Mostly because I was worried I would forget if I didn't do it during the session when it's someone else's focus, and also I wanted you to have one less thing to worry about. And Tuesday programming, if I can contribute, I absolutely will. I believe that during the virtual convention there was also a whole bunch. There were games running on Start Playing. Obviously, game night with Onyx Path Publishing is the last Friday of every month over at Start Playing .games, and there is a link for $10 credit on the Monday meeting notes if you want to introduce someone to the service, and also there is an FAQ about the Friday the game night with Onyx Path Publishing. And as I say to people all the time who mention it in other online spaces about starting games on Start Playing, I wish you the best of luck. Regrettably, much like anywhere else on the internet, it is down to luck and who sees your game. If Travis worked at any speed slower than 50 miles an hour, he explodes. Travis is just piloted by Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. We've got the full scoop here. And then because I've done this much of the Monday meeting notes as a recap, why not go the whole hog? First draft, Curious Cats and Mal Jumpstart, Eddie, and actually Travis is in chat too. I'm sure with both of those, well, Travis writing it, Eddie dashing off thoughts, that it will be a fantastic Jumpstart. It's true, your inner motivation is Dennis Hopper's voice taunting you. To be fair, I think that would work for anyone. You do not want the man taunting you. Manuscript, that's first draft, manuscript approval, Sound Mythic Shards. In art direction, The World Below, continuing to send out notes. I'm hyped about that because it's a cool aesthetic. Jumpstarts for Cyclops' Cave and Classified. They came from the RPG anthology. Sound Demigod Companion. Just quick glance to check, I do have Demigod. Yes, I do. Mythic Shards Backer Kit. SP, the StoryPath Ultimate Rulebook Art, and Branch Riders. Rolling Along. Incidentally, whenever I read Rolling Along in the Monday meeting notes, progress updates, it's the Muppet song from, I believe it's the first Muppets movie. Just, that's stuck in my head for like 5 minutes, so thank you to whoever writes those notes. I believe it's Rich, but I could be wrong. Oh, art direction from Mike Chaney. Probably not Rich, probably Mike Chaney. Who was on the community content panel at the con? Segue. Periodically switches movies though, the Blue Velvet days are the worst. In layout, Mage 20, Victorian, Weird Wonders, Revolutionary Magic, Pugmire 2e. It's coming out, chat. It's getting closer. Trinity Continuum Player's Guide, Silent Path to Apotheosis, Exalted Essence Charm Cards, Improving, along with Exigent Screen, and Pugmire Threats and Curs. At indexing, we've got Trinity Continuum Ether and Scion God, and then at press, the reprints for Origin and Core are still printing. Exalted Essence, quote, on the boat, toot toot toot. Sorry, toot toot toot. Exalted Essence Screen, Trinity Continuum Anima and Terror Surge Screen, Mage 20 Lore of the Traditions, Exalted 3rd Edition Exigent, Trinity Continuum Ether. They came from Cyclops' Cave Classified, both books and screens. Exalted 3rd Edition Sidereals, or Sidereals, I'm never sure how to pronounce that. Squeaks in the Deep Companion, Exalted Essence Jumpstart, Chronicles of Darkness, Contagion Chronicles RMCs, the Curseborn Ashcan is in Errata Gathering, and, as I mentioned, Sound No Gods, No Masters. Advanced PDF is available this Wednesday on DriveThruRPG. That is the Monday meeting notes in a nutshell. Again, the highlights particularly being Curseborn is available in Ashcan format. It's currently the 5th best-selling title on DriveThruRPG and the most popular title under $5. Sidereals, much obliged. Thank you, Yosemite Mike. I'm not going to do the Yosemite thing. I don't have that in me. As well as the Curseborn actual play and I believe panel. Those are I guess the big things. They were the things that behind the screens we were told to to push as much as possible. Speaking of behind the scenes, so I was running tech. So I'm a showrunner here at twitch.tv/the Onyx Path. And yeah, huge congratulations to the Ashcan being an Electrum seller already. I have contributed to that. I feel a small sense of pride. It means emanating from the stars? Ooh, thank you. Yes, so I'm a showrunner here at twitch.tv/the Onyx Path. Side note, for people who wonder why I say that quite a bit, because I put this up on YouTube, it may have some help with cross-pollination, directing people to the Twitch channel. I always include a link in the video description as well. Talking about the behind-the-screen scenes in a stream called Behind the Screen. Shocking. Exactly. I know. It's amazing. Sidereal martial arts made your brain hurt in 2E. I mean, it's Exalted. If your brain's not melting out of your ears, you're playing it wrong. Yes. So, and Travis, Plastic Age Plays, all hail the Twitch Overlord, knows that I'm generally up to help out wherever I can. Obviously, I use obviously as a filler sometimes. I shouldn't in this circumstance because it makes me seem very arrogant. I was invited to help out at the virtual convention several months ago at this point, and I was like, you know what, yes, I will. I even have my own Zoom account and pro Zoom account. So, everyone saves money there because I use it for work anyway. You are, and I appreciate you so much for it. No worries. I will help out however I can. I like helping out. I like Onyx Path, and y'all have been good to me. Yeah. Yes, so, obviously I can't speak about much of the technical side of things because Travis does a whole lot of wizardry with spreadsheets and emails and contacting people. But from my perspective, at least, it was a very smooth process. Could have been smoother, but there's only so much you can do before human error creeps in. But a couple of months ago, it was very much like, hey, do you want to help out with the con? And I was like, yes, I do. I have my own Zoom account, which I've already said. I don't know why I repeated it. In a much more jocular, informal fashion. And then it's just kind of a question of waiting, really, into figuring out, finding out like how I'm needed, what I'll be doing, and things of that nature. So largely, I just put it on the back burner. It's focused on running this show, finishing products, etc., getting my work done on time for contractors. Hey, those of you who want to be freelance writers, get your work in on time. Actually, preferably get it in on time. From everything I understand about the industry, not only get it in on time, but actually get in what you've been asked to write. I discovered recently that not everyone does that, and it's weird. There's a brief for a reason. Anyway, that's just me being distracted. And then it's kind of like, hey, these the... in years past, is this a panel that you're happy to be on? And then, or is this a game you're happy to run or play in? And largely, not everyone does that, but there's a brief. Like, the brief tells you what to write. I don't understand. Anyway, I could have this conversation, but I'm not going to because I would like to remain professional in the eyes of people I've worked for and with before. Comment remarkably smoothly as far as I know. I credit that to our amazing tech crew, our incredible guests, and starting planning in January. I think it's the starting planning in January that was obviously, like, tech amazing, guests incredible as you said, but starting in January probably helped a lot. Get some of those kinks ironed out. Anyway, yeah. So and to Travis's credit, like, I know that if there was a problem and I wasn't able to fill that space, that there will be no hard feelings because, people are people, people have lives. Keep doing what you're doing, just knowing that you're great about following the brief. I love following briefs. That came out weird. In a insert the word writing before brief, and it's a lot less weird of a sentence. Plans to bring more games to Roll20. I mean, I can't speak for Onyx Path, but as a consumer, it would seem silly not to, as people use Roll20, and Roll20 now has drive-through integration and all of that stuff. So purely from a consumer point of view, I would, yes, brief chaser, please don't take off your briefs. Senior writers and developers, folks. Senior writers and developers. Where was I? Yes, I know that if I weren't able to, make a panel or run a game or play in a game, that there'd be no hard feelings. Some people, this is the only convention I've been asked to ever invited to take part in, but I've had contact with other people where it kind of feels like they might take that personally if I couldn't make it for whatever reason. So one, that's nice. Obviously, there's a lot of spinning wheels, but you feel like you're a valued member of the team in whatever you're contributing. Any actual plays you wish you saw over the con weekend that you missed that you want to watch on VOD? I'll probably be checking out the Curseborn one, absolutely. Not actual play, but the community content panel. Obviously, I have a huge investment in the community content platforms and learning as much as I can about them. Realms of Pugmire I'll be watching. But again, that's a panel. Although there was an actual play for Realms of Pugmire, and I greatly enjoy watching Realms of Pugmire. Onyx Path has Scarred Lands now, don't it? Yes, Onyx Path has had Scarred Lands for quite some time now. It's currently in its 5th edition, D&D 5th edition rule set form. Need to watch the Curseborn panel as well. I think a lot of people do. So the problem with being so involved in the con is you can't actually attend the con. But the actual plays, Realms of Pugmire, probably Curseborn, as I said. Anything I can, really. Scion, obviously, is a big one for me. I'll watch anything, but those are kind of probably the ones I'm, off the top of my head, most excited for right now, because I've been, obviously, like, I have been talking about Scion and Realms of Pugmire and Curseborn. I'm pretty undiscriminating, is that a word? When it comes to role-playing games, I just like storytelling, and I firmly believe that you can learn something from any game, no matter what the genre. Which means that I watch and play a lot of genres, and I like them all. I will also shout out that Dead Man's Rust is a fantastic campaign. That is a word. Cool. Fantastic. Yes, going back to what I was talking about. Because again, this is without the writing to focus me, chat. This is very hard. No, do not say hard. Like 10 minutes after saying brief chaser, chasing briefs. This is very difficult to keep myself on track because you're all amazing and I like interacting with chat. But also I'm here for a purpose. Please don't stop talking. Yeah. So being feeling valued is nice, and then you let Travis know what you can and cannot attend, and that goes into the ether. For more quality content of this nature, by the way, I have a whole collection over on my Twitch channel of the random embarrassing stuff that I say while playing video games. It's a thing, and I don't know why I bother saving them for posterity, but I absolutely do. Yeah, that goes into the ether. Travis does some arcane techno wizardry with it, and then it comes back as like, hey, these are the panels that you're on. You're happy to run tech for these panels or games, or let's say events. These are the events that you're on. You're happy to run tech for them. This one you'll be a player on. This one you'll be a story guide, director, GM. Insert applicable name here. Save them because we want you to. That's true on StoryPath. I also save them when you and other community members clip them, because you clearly want me to save them. Yes, Scion is on sale, 50% off. If you have yet to play Second Edition, Second Edition is a lot easier to understand and play than First Edition. Although, some people may have feelings about the fact you need Origin and Hero to play the, Scion experience, I guess. Oh gosh. I need God to round out my collection so bad. Where was I? Techno Arcane Wizardry, and then yes, and then you get emails saying, "Are you? This is just confirming. This is where you're tech. This is where you're playing. This is where you're story guiding." As a sound freelancer, I can highly recommend picking it up. As an aspirational sound freelancer, I will also second that recommendation. It's a fun game. Also, then you have an excuse to pick up the Inkborn Pantheon that I threw up onto the StoryPath Nexus, and A Rude Awakening, which was the introductory adventure that I wrote, which is pay what you want. Heck yes. Self-promotion on my show about community content. Go me. And then, you confirm whether or deny. And again, I know that, sure, it'll be causing Travis problems. Inkborn is very good, you can confirm. Ooh, thank you, Mr. Days. I really appreciate that. I actually submitted that as a writing sample, an extract of that as a writing sample recently. I'm hoping it works in my favour. Yes. Again, I know that it would cause Travis problems if I couldn't make it, but I know it would be, I wouldn't be vindictively kicked off the channel, let's say. Is that the Lovecraftian Pantheon you saw in Drive-Thru RPG? No, the Inkborn Pantheon it was my way of being like, hey, all those pop culture characters that you love and would, like American Gods, but also fictional characters from books. What if they were just mantles of gods themselves? So it was my way of doing, hey, here's a pop culture pantheon without any copyright problems whatsoever. Being community content, our community content titles are also on Sounds Right Through RPG. Well, there we go. There we go. Even more savings. And then for yes, as in actual ink, as in, like writing, or printing if you prefer. And then all of that goes away again once you've confirmed, and then you get like a hey, this is the list of players, and it all becomes very real. And then you suddenly have to have conversations about consent and what people are happy to, consent checklists and themes that they want to explore and stuff. If you are as organised, I regrettably did not have the time to. I prioritized the consent checklist because I knew I wouldn't have time to have like a session 0 with any of my players. But I have a Google sheet that I've set up based on Monty Cook's consent and gaming checklist that people can edit anonymously. So it's all aggregated. It's all combined in one place, rather than having 5 different PDFs sent back to me or Google Forms or what have you. And I only had one person have issue using it, which was quite handy. And then if you are in a similar situation to me, where I had no free time before the con, well, I had enough time to write the adventures, but I didn't have enough time to make characters. Fortunately, Onyx Path Publishing have a grand array of pre-generated characters, and you can absolutely ask for those. And any other rules resources that you need to actually play the game. So, shout out once again to not just Travis in this instance for hooking us up with the rules that we needed, but to Onyx Path in general for being pretty swell about... Pretty swell? What? Am I from the 50s? Pretty cool about sharing in-progress rule... like, in development rule sets. Nothing new. It's all stuff, certainly from my experience, for my games, that's available to Kickstarter backers. I think The Woe Below is on Kickstarter. But, it's pretty cool that we can run an actual play in a game that's not out yet because the rules aren't finalized or fully arted or edited, but still have the manuscript to work with to do. Didn't have time for either, so I ran a pre-written adventure with ready-made characters. Exactly, Zach, and that's another option as well. Cool, blimey, swell, Governor. Am I from the 50s? Do you want to ask us that question? Specifically on Stable, I would like to not ask you. Your brand of gentle trolling is appreciated. Yes, and then obviously, as Zach has pointed out, you can if you don't have time to write the adventure, there's a whole bunch of pre-written adventures out there, in forms of quick starts and jump starts and companions and sound 1950s CC when. I mean, that's more just the world of the 50s. Than anything else. Centaurs would look a bit different, I suppose, the motorbike ones. Matt is the unsung hero of getting resources to streams, many other aspects of the operation, obviously. Making sure people have the right resources is useful, I feel, in a situation like this. But then, obviously, that you're in contact with your players, so you can discuss any issues that come up. You can ask them any problems they foresee having. I was incredibly busy in the run-up to the con, so I didn't get to ask as many questions as I would have preferred to. But thankfully, it all went well enough. As I say, I did plan to write the adventures I was going to run on stream, but I just didn't have time. So I would like to apologise for that. I know that some people really do find it interesting to watch me write adventures. You're strange, but I value you anyway because I'm also strange. But my plan is to, as I did with the A Ball to Die For actual play, where I converted the adventure notes into an actual adventure. My plan is to do something like that, except I wrote the adventure in that style. And if we get time today, which probably won't, but for maybe the next episode of the show, I'll be adding, I guess for people who I shouldn't assume people have seen my show before. For the Realms of Pugmire Kickstarter, I ran an actual play titled A Ball to Die For. After that finished, I never planned to do anything with it. It was just like, here, I made my notes on the adventure and I ran it. And then there was some interest in the Onyx Path community Discord server about me putting that adventure out as content for people to use. So then I suddenly had to polish it and make it usable for people who aren't me. So I did a season of this show behind the screen. It's available on YouTube, youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles. It's all in the playlist. Where I took those notes and I polished them to a usable level. Not in the traditional adventure sense of like, hey, this is kind of, there are expectations when you buy an adventure about how it should be formatted, and certainly The Rude Awakening for Scion, and the Radford Estate for Chronicles of Darkness, and my next Trinity Continuum StoryPath Nexus supplement, When Night Falls. Also, I guess my Game Jam winning entry, Begin Again, all have that kind of feel of like, it's just read aloud text, here's the scene, cast in an appendix at the back or at the front, and very much like, this is how you run the adventure, point by point. With A Ball to Die For and the two adventures I wrote for the con, The Water's Gift and Steadfast Depths. Apparently I had to think about water, don't know where that came from. I wanted it to be very reflective of the context for which they were written. So I have a commentary section being like, hey, this is the purpose of the scene, this is stuff that's going on in it. Then an information section, which is the scene, which is like the bare minimum information you need for the scene, leaving things vague enough that you can react to players. Cast, any important information to take away from the scene, like clues, and then an advice section about, which is more of a reflection of how the scene played out in context, so in the actual play, and then how I would change it in the future, or where I think it like worked but could be tweaked to work better. Because I realized that I like this show because it gives me that chance to show people how to write for role-playing games, and I know that a lot of people aren't necessarily comfortable writing material, whether narrative, mechanical, mix of both, what have you. And I like to think I'm good at writing role-playing material. I certainly wouldn't have plied publishers with submissions or pitched this show if I didn't have some confidence in my quality of work, and somehow it's paid off. But I realized that, sure, I'm demonstrating how to do it in video, and I'm including the video links and things like that so people can watch along to the writing process, up to the editing, at which point I do that on my own time, because I assure you no one wants to watch me edit for 2 hours. So I realized that having the actual plays where, you can watch the adventure and then you can look at my notes and see how things were written and what, with the commentary of why they were written that way, was just another way of removing gatekeeping into writing content, whether, for homebrew or community content or, submission to publishers. So that's why I did that for A Ball to Die For. That's why I've done that for The Water's Gift and Steadfast Depths. I'm going to attend to chat for a moment. So many RPG publishers forget the people who don't already know the game have to run it just with the book. Yes, they do. I'm excited to run the next StoryPath Game Jam next year. I'm excited to take part in it if I can. I hope the Game Jam coincides with some new StoryPath Nexus unlocks like Anima or something, but that's still all dependent on OPP. It is, but OPP are pretty good. And I mean, even if it isn't, there's a wide variety of games on the Nexus now. And there's every chance there'll be more. Again, I don't work for Onyx Path. I'm not giving you the inside scoop here. I just, there is a chance there'll be more content unlocked on the Nexus for next year. Your scenarios will be a jumbled mess to anyone who isn't you. Exactly. We all write in our own way, which is why I took 6 streams to make that adventure usable to other people, as well as explaining my decision making. So we have reached. So that's like the prep stage of the con. Put in touch with players. I was fortunate enough to have the time, because I'm unemployed, to write the adventures. Again, I wanted to do it on stream, but I just ran out of time with everything else going on in my personal life. No, I will not, in fact, say that word, awkward GM. Then the con happens, and obviously it's because there is a master spreadsheet of what event is happening, with contact details for the tech and the person running the game and all of the players. And then Onyx Path obviously put out the schedules like a week or two in advance anyway, so you can generally figure out which channels you'll be on. Particularly for me, because I was running tech for 3 of the 4 APs I was in. It's just a matter of confirming your attendance to those, your ability to run tech for those, and accepting stream keys from the host partner channel. For those who do not know, because this was your first time, or you came in at the end of the convention, Onyx Path, twitch.tv/the Onyx Path is where all the panels happen. By and large, all the panels happen. And then there are a couple of partner channels, Plastic Age Plays, The Rolling Nomads, Simulacra TV, I think is the Twitch URL, and Dork Tales, that host all the actual plays and reruns of in this case, the reruns of the Curseborn world premiere AP. Fantastic, I got it right with Simulacra TV. And so if you're running tech, you need to be able to stream to those channels. Correction 04, heck yeah, go me. So you get I guess a bit of context for the people who don't stream. I try to keep everything as simple as I can and explain where I can. So to stream, you need, ignoring all of the Zoom overlay stuff, which Travis is an absolute hero and sorts out. So you need your Zoom, you need your overlay, you need your players, you need a webcam and a microphone, which is all you need for Zoom anyway. And then you need some kind of software that will act as a bridge between all of that and Twitch. I use OBS, but there's a bunch of solutions out there, including, I believe it's called Twitch Studio, Twitch's own service. Streamlabs OBS is another big one, although they had some publicity issues a couple of years ago. And one of the things in there is a stream key, which is very reductively the address that you send all the data to on Twitch's servers. Each channel has its own stream key, but you can also give people a sub key. Like, you can invite them to broadcast on your channel, which removes some of the security issues, let's say, of possessing their stream key. So you need the stream key, and then it helps if you're a moderator, obviously, because if you're running tech, you can also keep an eye on the channel and moderate the chat if needs be. I fortunately did not have a single bot in my 4 actual plays, but I saw that some people did have a problem with bots. People seem to have a lot of problems with OBS. The OBS is very how to put this gently. It's not as intuitive as other ones. It's open source for one, which is why I like it. It does everything it needs to and no more. And yes, it can be a little bonky from time to time, but any software can be. I wonder if there's a recent OBS update or something. Probably. OBS's issues usually do occur around updates where the air quotes stable branch has problems. I fortunately seem to escape most of them, so I guess my hardware configuration is just sympathetic to OBS. But I know some people have a lot of problems with OBS every time it updates. And yes, once OBS is set up, it's usually fine. OBS is everything you expect from software designed by random programmers. It really is. OBS is like, it's everything that's good and bad about open source software. That's all. The only thing I will say, just if anyone is curious about streaming and weighing the pros and cons, the main problem I have with OBS is whenever Windows updates, OBS forgets all of my audio settings, like the default audio devices for some reason. But I guess it's because it's just piggybacking off of Windows default audio devices, and those change as well when it updates. But that's just a very minor problem, incredibly minor problem. Yeah, so you get you pass on your Twitch account, username, email, and you get invited with the stream key there. Just have a hard time believing that anyone would actually want to watch you stream. Hey, so do I, but hey, some people do. You're watching me stream right now. It's one of those things you don't know if you'll be good at it until you try, and I discovered that I really like hosting and providing a safe space for people to ask questions and talk about things. Obviously over here it's a bit different, but over here I get my ego stroked. So OpCon Day 1, they had a running games online panel about streaming. Happened last year as well. Yes, it's a useful panel to check out if you are interested in streaming your actual plays. Yeah, so it helps if you're a moderator. You don't need to be. Helps if you're an editor as well, because that means you can set the stream title, but there are enough people in the backstage tech server that a few streamers who don't what Plastic Age plays. Fun fact about Twitch streaming: there's a 20-second delay between me talking and you getting the audio. Actually, and the video, to be fair. It's not just the audio. Can you imagine if the video was 1-to-1, but the audio was 20 seconds behind? That'd be awful. Yeah, so fortunately there are enough people on the tech server on the tech server to be like, hey, I'm an editor, I'll come and change the title for you if needs be. The main problem being if the title is wrong when you go live on Twitch, whatever the title is when you click start streaming or go live or whatever it is the title that Twitch saves the VOD as. No matter what you change the title to throughout the VOD, it will save it as the incorrect title. If you have an editor or a channel owner, you can then go in and change the title, I believe. But just to be aware, particularly if you are interested in streaming for Onyx Path Publishing on this channel. More on that in a moment, as I promised at the beginning of the episode. So, all of the stars align. You have the software. You have the key. You have the software. You put the key into the software. There's, as you probably noticed, there's a whole host of pre-roll graphics and things. But again, that's all handled by, I assume, Travis, until told otherwise. So it's just a case of organizing your files correctly. The Twitch partner shenanigans stream. I can imagine. You may fudge and make it cyberpunk to use all your cyberpunk maps. Hey, one of the shards in the Mythic Shards setting is called Cyber Scion. That's coming to crowdfunding soon. I think it's back a kit. Yes. So, and then you got to organize your pre-roll properly. I did not. If anyone does get involved in the virtual con at any point in the future and is watching this, learn from my mistake. When you have the channel-specific pre-roll and the Onyx Path pre-roll, do not extract them into the same folder. OBS does not like that in terms of organizing them properly. Just put them into two separate folders and add them to the image slideshow in the right order, and you'll be fine. A few streamers don't have a hard time imagining people want. Oh yeah. Most streamers are powered by imposter syndrome. I know, obviously, you've got a lot out there who genuinely are extroverts and performers and cannot imagine a world where people don't want to watch them perform. But I do this in spite of extreme performance anxiety. I don't get stage fright, but I do get a lot of anxiety around it, and it is what it is. I still enjoy doing it. I still enjoy interacting with chat and hopefully providing a modicum of entertainment or useful information, depending on context. Both, if possible. Yes, so just like a full confession, in OBS, in the slideshow, which we use for the pre-roll, you can add a directory to add all the files in that directory, or you can add the files individually. If all of the files are in a directory, obviously Windows sorts them alphabetically, which, if you need them in a specific order, is not the right order for the convention. So just either put them in 2 separate directories like I did, or manually insert the files in the right order yourself. It takes a bit longer, but it's the same end result. If you're fine with a slight bit of automation, you can just select the folder the pre-roll is in, and OBS automatically puts them in the alphabetical order. Yes, but alphabetical order here was the problem. Awkward GM. And that's where I was making my mistake. There are people like that, but I'm not one of them. Hey, that's fair. Get horrific stage fright every time you stream. That's perfect fair. Every stream I've seen you in, Travis, has been wonderful. But I completely respect that. I get anxious every time I stream. I mean, I've been running this show for 82 episodes, which is a long time. It's like... I looked it up the other day. It was 3 years or something like that I've been doing this show. And it's the same every time. Every dang time. You think it will get better. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm, at this point, a published freelancer. I know how to write role-playing games and talk about them. But, nope, still doesn't work. 3rd of September 2019. This is my 5-year anniversary on the channel in September. Good grief. Why are you fools still letting me do this? Oh no. The 3rd of September is a Tuesday. I feel like I need to do something for that. Don't do much anymore. But all of this sounds like why I have a gazillion folders for projects, so I know where each piece actually is instead of wading through a dozen draft. Oh yeah, absolutely. Just as a side note, if you're doing any writing project, just organize it with a good organizational tree. Don't just have a random draft, etc., as Eddie has pointed out. Thanks for sharing that help. Stage fright is by definition an irrational fear. It absolutely is. There's a lot of Call of Cthulhu modern scenarios are very narrowly written for the pre-gens and nothing else. Well, the thing, this is, I guess it's, I minimized that, I didn't mean to. Call of Cthulhu is a very specific kind of horror role-playing, and if you want to to make it as effective as possible, it kind of needs to be tailored. So if you're writing an adventure with pre-gens, it's just easier to tie into the pre-gens. That's all it is. It's like if you do pick up the A Rude Awakening, you'll notice there are prologue scenes there aimed at each of the pre-gens I provided in the adventure. And with my upcoming, if I say this enough, I'll actually get around to finishing it. I just need to make characters. That's all I need to do. I need to make 6 pre-gens for this dang Trinity Continuum adventure. And it will be ready for editing, layout, and publishing. But for my Trinity Continuum adventure, When Night Falls, it's kind of predicated on the fact that you'll be using the pre-gens, although advice is given about how to change it if not. 1920s scenarios mostly not like that, though. Who knows? Maybe it's just the way the writing team went with it. Yeah, so I fessed up about the file, my OBS file architecture issue. And then you get your time, you get your channel, you figure out how best you figure out the communication with your players. Make sure you start your Zoom call 15 minutes before the panel or session is supposed to go live, because that gives you time to fix the overlay, because Zoom will put people in different places every time. Even if it's the same people, they will be in different places, as well as any technical problems. A couple of things to note there. Always find it difficult to roleplay a pre-gen who has motivations that might not be the motivation I have as a player. It's actually fairly challenging to write a scenario with pre-gens that feels personal to those pre-gens, but it's also easy to use with the player's original characters. It is absolutely a balancing act. I generally find it easier to use a character of my own making than a pre-gen, I will admit. And not that I won't use a pre-gen, obviously. I use pre-gens for branch riders, for example. It's totally doable, but there's preference involved, obviously. But as a writer, yeah, it is difficult to account for people making their own characters. Because obviously with pre-gens, you know what the characters can and can't do easily. I'm hopeful that the adventures that I've written for books that are not yet out are applicable enough to to work for both. Yeah, start your Zoom call 15 minutes early. A quick note on Zoom calls, on specifically Zoom calls for actual plays. If you are using an overlay, absolutely do not forget to open the Zoom chat before you sort out the overlay, because the minute you click that button to expand the chat bar, all of the people move. I absolutely forgot that for the first Branch Riders actual play and had to redo like 3 minutes of work, so that was cool. Keep an eye on people's audio levels as well. If someone's too quiet in OBS, just ask them to see if they can fix that. A note about that, about audio and things, if you are curious about how I do such a thing. So my OBS right now, I will read off the audio sources. I have the background music track. Thank you for demonstrating background music track. I didn't write this music. I made this music using stems. Samples and stems. And then I have actually 2 desktop audio tracks and, well, for the actual plays, I have 2 desktop audio tracks and 2 of my microphone tracks. OBS will always give you a desktop and a microphone track that you can't really remove. Pro tip, latest Zoom software has team chat in the application window. You can access it there rather than foot surrounded with a core window. Ooh, exciting. Yes, OBS gives you a desktop. Oh, there's a bot. You know what? Someone else can deal with that. I'm talking. I'm going to swing that ban hammer by remote. Yes, Zoom will give you a desktop audio. Thank you, Plastic Age Plays. A desktop audio input and a microphone auxiliary input because it's broadcasting software. If you want to be able to talk to the people in the Zoom call with you before going live, if you just create a desktop, I call them scene desktop and scene mic, and just add them to your OBS mixer, you can then mute your desktop audio track and your microphone auxiliary track, and it's fine because the scene mic and scene desktop aren't in the pre-roll scene; they're only in the actual play scene. And the mute particularly for desktop audio and microphone inputs are universal mutes. No matter what scene I go to in OBS, they'll be muted. So it's helpful to be able to keep talking to your to people you're running tech for during the pre-roll without having to worry about it being picked up by being heard on stream. Streaming software in general, be mindful which video conference software you use and their quirks. For example, Discord will disable video if it's not visible on screen to save on memory bandwidth. Yes, absolutely. If you're using other things, please be careful of that. Also, be wary with Zoom, because it is just a window capture. Functionally speaking, it's just capturing the window. Like I've got 5 Zoom window captures, I think it is, for 5 players. If you move your cursor across the window, which I caught myself doing a couple of times during the con, it will pick up the cursor. I know there are some ways of removing the cursor. I don't know if I've checked how to do it with the Zoom window capture. Like, I know you can do it with game capture, for example. It's something that I completely forgot to do, and if only I've just remembered to check for. My bad. And obviously during the session, keeping an eye on OBS's drop frames, bandwidth. If you're having any encoding issues, is all good to do. If you're like me and using an older rig, you may notice that it's taking a lot of CPU usage running Zoom and streaming at the same time. As long as you don't have too much happening, it should be fine. Any more advice I can give from that perspective? I mean, from my perspective, as like a retrospective side of things, everything went shockingly well, apart from the fact I couldn't name. I was just missing a permission to rename streams for the on Saturday. But tech-wise, as a tech person, everything went fine, and it was all extremely well organized. Everyone knew what was happening. Everyone knew what channels they were supposed to be on. We knew where we were supposed to be raiding afterwards. Curseborn was obviously the priority because it's the new hotness. I'm going to hydrate. So that's that. That's that. Like the retrospective is running as tech, and then actually, to be fair, after the con, there's then a survey which I am yet to fill out. I do apologise, Travis. It's just been a matter of time about how you feel it went, and if you have paid for a month of Zoom, reimbursement is a thing you can apply for. My games specifically, so I ran The World Below, and they came from Classified. World Below, obviously not out yet to the public, but as I pointed out, Matthew was a star, and I don't know how Matthew would feel about being described as a star, in all fairness. Matthew was supportive and sent us the manuscript to work from, so that it was the most up-to-date rules, and we were not limited to the Ashcan rules. And then they came from Classified is already out. The book came out a couple months ago at this point, I believe. So that was fine. Plenty of support there. And I wanted, as with the A Rude Awakening, my introductory adventure design, or the Radford Estate for the same, but for Chronicle of Darkness. I'm mentioning those specifically because those I wrote on stream. Begin Again is also an introductory adventure, this time for Trinity Continuum Core. But A Rude Awakening and the Radford Estate were both on stream, and therefore I discussed my philosophy around introducing people to role-playing games. Obviously, with a con game, I have the constraint of it being a 3-hour session, and I know roughly, I've mentioned this before, I can't remember which stream it was, which series of the show it was, but I mentioned before that you'll get about 3 scenes in a 3-hour session. Your opening scene, like if you run games the way I do, particularly one-shots, if you know that you've only got the one session, your introduction scene is going to be short, half an hour probably at most, and then your finale, I like to end on a fight because that's just action and it's memorable. And usually the combat rules are the most complex rules in the game, and so once you reach that point, the players understand how the game works, and you can add on that extra level of mechanical complexity. So end on a fight, and that will usually take about an hour to an hour and a half. And obviously, unlike a lot of other scenes, a fight scene you can end pretty much whenever, because you're the GM and you can fudge the rules. I don't usually behold with fudging rules and roles, sorry, but when you're at a convention running a con game and you have 3 hours to do it, or you'll knock everything out of whack, you need to fudge those roles, or the adventure itself, obviously. So both games were written very much as here's an introduction scene to help you as players, me as the GM, because I'd never run The World Below before. I'd read the Ashcan, but I hadn't backed it on Kickstarter for financial reasons. I don't know, I'm justifying not backing games on Kickstarter and back a kit and stuff. Just assume if I haven't backed it, I couldn't afford to at the time. So I've never run The World Below before. I've played it once on stream. Shout out to Tom, the GM there, Tom Moore. And they came from Classified again. Never run before. Played on stream with Eddie actually as my GM, as my director, which was fantastic. Whole lot of fun. The opportunity to send my own actual play sound sheet to my GM's players who I had fun with. Always need more players for future AP sessions I plan. That's totally fair. Planning the structure of an AP is definitely different than planning a personal game, because you don't want to have an hour of content remaining to go over when you have 10 minutes left in the stream. Exactly. It's a skill set. It's just learned like anything else. So they're both games that I wasn't familiar with, so I wasn't going to do anything too complex. I wanted adventures that kind of hit the themes of the game with hopefully my own spin on them. So with I guess here on out, spoilers beware. And I'll be doing more of a, I guess, comprehensive overview and rewriting next time. So this stream probably will not run to 4 o'clock as normal. It might be a bit shorter. We'll figure out. It was a lot of fun running Classified. Classified is your favourite they came from game because you love the spy genre. That's totally fair. So, yes. So The World Below. My adventure, The Water's Gift. You'll notice this one has an overview. My Classified adventure does not have an overview, but my vibes for this adventure, I aimed for melancholy and hopeless. Themes: regret versus hope, stagnation versus change. A trigger warning that I only remember to add like halfway through was themes of addiction. And also something that I did discuss with my players beforehand, because it has such a bearing on the game. If you are going to play The World Below in a con setting, discuss chaos level with your players beforehand. Obviously you can do it during, but I just did it during the 15-minute pre-game call, so that we were all on the same page. I gave them the option of chaos level 1 or 2, discussed the benefits of both, and they opted to go with chaos level 2, so the adventure was at chaos level 2. I think you got to try to not have fun where they came from. I could never see someone having a bad time where they came from. Yeah, that's the thing with they came from. Like, it's... Yeah, as Trevor says, you have to go out of your way to not enjoy it. Even if it's not your preferred genre, it's just fun. There's no better way of describing it than it's just fun. Oh yes, so to me, like, to me, The World Below is a game of, hope in a dark place and not giving into the despair of the fact that there may not be a way out of the situation that life is in. This may be the world going forwards. And then that led me to, what if you could forget how bad a situation you were in? What would that look like? Oh no, I dropped my fidget dinosaur. Cyclops Cave is your favourite they came from, but it's your favourite game period, so that makes sense. Absolutely. I don't have a favourite they came from. The thing is, I haven't played enough they came from games to really have a favourite yet. And obviously more come out all the time. And then so that then went to, how would you forget what a terrible situation you're in The World Below? And because this was a con game, I didn't want to go too off-piste. I wanted to use stuff that was in the rulebook, so that anyone at home could grab this adventure from the StoryPath Nexus and run it. Should get you to play more They Came From games. Eddie, if the opportunity presented itself, I would absolutely do so, which is why I pitched something earlier today on the Twitch streamer server. But if there is an opportunity to play more They Came From games, whether streamed live or not, I'm absolutely down for that if I'm available. Yes. And then so I tried to hint at this quite heavily, but the entire one shot took place on the banks of a vast vast subterranean lake/ocean of water glowing sapphire, and I very specifically chose the word sapphire for the water, and described at a very important moment when a memory was taken from one of the players that it sounded like a geothermal vent opening, to imply that there's something in the water, and it was, mild spoiler, it never came up in the adventure, but the water is absolutely a sapphire dragon's hoard of memories. It's just, it happens to take on the form of salt water when you give your memory to this dragon. Again, doesn't come up at any point in the adventure. You all now know more than my players did about that, but that was the seed of the adventure, because memory loss is tragic and hopeless, and that to me is one of the core themes of the game. So had an introductory scene, and I knew that the players probably wouldn't know each other. We wouldn't have time to run a session 0, so all the characters would probably be new to each other as well. And the easiest way to handle that is your characters don't remember anything, because they've fallen in the water and they have momentary amnesia, temporary amnesia. Sorry. there was a mechanic involved where they could try to remember and some things with a complication that if they couldn't buy it off, they could remember their name and things immediately related to their origins, but they wouldn't have access to any of their theses or syntheses, sorceries, etc. Any of the magic stuff or specialized knowledge, let's say. And by and large, that scene worked pretty well. When I go to do this next time, I'll go into more detail about that. We should get everyone to play more They Came From games. You know what? We should get everyone to play They Came From Witchford Academy the minute it is available for release. We should just do 24/7 Witchford content on the channel. I think Buzz Me for APs is when there is a question the GM presents that the players never investigate. As a player, it may make sense. As a spectator, it's this mystery without payoff. That is a problem. That's partly why I revealed the Sapphire Dragon thing, just in case anyone did watch it and was curious about what was the deal with the water, because there's no time to explore that. But equally, it's a story seed going forward. So as a way of getting the characters to talk to each other, because it's a con game, people may not necessarily be comfortable or confident enough to talk to each other. I'm very much one of those people who fakes confidence in role-playing games. If no one else is talking, I will fake being confident enough to talk and to break the ice. So obviously to get around that, you need an icebreaker, and that was why there was a fairy person on the boat. I picked a hobgob just because hobgob's cool. And you can get some really weird creature design from a hobnob. A hobgob, sorry. A hobnob is a biscuit. Here's this 3-armed fairy person who just poles around the dreaming sea, rescuing people who fall in and putting them on the bank. Then at the end of that scene, there was a very brief fight with creatures with one health, just as like, hey, this is how fighting works without initiative. Now onto Hobnob. Eddie, you're not the only one who now wants a Hobnob. British cuisine side note. So there is the chocolate digestive, which is a wheat biscuit covered in chocolate. That is like the stereotypical English biscuit for cooking. And then there is the alternative hobnob, which you can also get chocolate covered hobnobs. And they are oat biscuits. They tend to be a bit sweeter because I think they're made with golden syrup, but they are much firmer and much more textured, and I prefer them because of that. I'm going to await the obvious dirty joke. Yes, so there was a fight at the end of that, just to demonstrate. So the memory roll, they are addictive, it's true. The memory roll was like, hey, here is how the dice rolling system in the game works. It's quite easy to pass. Here is a complication that introduces that mechanic to people who are not familiar with it. And then a fight at the end to be like, hey, this is how combat works. Grandmother was from Manchester, so I got a lot of British snacks in your childhood. Heck yeah. Biscuits UK equals cookies US. Mostly, yes. Although we do have cookies as well, but they're generally chocolate chip. Anyway, I could go into the differences between UK and US English, but biscuit is metric. It's always going to be one. There's always going to be one. Scene 2, the pillar. Oh, also, because it was a con game and I didn't feel bad about railroading my players. How many biscuits before you will collab with me or something? Hey, if we can make it work, I will collab with you. I think there is a difference, just continuing this cuisine discussion, I think there is a difference between how a biscuit is made and how a cookie is made in UK English. I make cookies a lot. I think they are different. Certainly they taste very different to like a biscuit. But we have a wide array of biscuits that don't actually taste anything, that don't have like similar texture or even filling. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I didn't feel bad railroading my players because it's a con game, because I've only got 3 hours. It was very much a, hey, there are 2 points of obvious interest in this cave, and one of them is on the way to the other. Guess where you're going. So the second scene, the pillar, I put in as an introduction to the investigation system in the world below, as well as a social situation where they can have more of an impact than they could have with the hobgoblin on the ferry. They could talk to this person for more information about the cavern, the sea, etc., and also as a way to introduce the intrigue mechanics of positive attitudes and things. I'm just imagining Marga Cookie Monster and your inner child is weeping. Don't. That's the advice for you. Don't. So, because it's railroaded, it's fine. They're always going to get there. And then 2 very simple investigation rolls. So the 2 clues, 2 core clues and 2 alternative clues, and a character that they can talk to for more information, which I guess fulfills as a third alternative clue. I could say, Trump, but how did you feel for the Challenger SGC's post to the PCs? Did it feel that the players were in danger, or was the encounter trivial? So with the world below, they didn't actually really get into any problems, just through clever use of powers. So that was Caden, Ipsy, and Alan, who was on the community content panel. Oh yeah, I've got a chocolate digestive waiting for me after the show as my mid-afternoon snack. And they, Alan created a minion to block the attack for his character, and then it was such that it made narrative sense that when the minion attacked back, because the things they were fighting only had one health and explode on death, that the other things were close enough to also do a chain reaction of explosions. So that fight was fine. It was largely incidental. It was never intended to be a challenge anyway. And then the fight at the end in the third scene, they talked their way out of, and we kind of ran out of time for the final alternative final fight. But they, again, through clever use of abilities, through the Floral Fortress sorcery, just they didn't plan it this way, but for those who didn't watch it, so Ipsy was playing I think it was a shadow silhouette. I can't remember. Anyway, a character who could throw chaos rocks and they would explode, and the burning tag applies the burning condition, which does 1 injury every round. I didn't have time to check the exact wording on the Floral Fortress ability, so it may have been slightly misused, but it was the end of the actual play anyway. We were running out of time, so I didn't really mind. But it shielded them for 5 rounds, during which they were completely immune to damage. So this spider was just burning for 5 rounds, which basically almost killed it, while they were immune to damage. Mega cookies are made of regret and sorrow. No one actually likes them, but because Fox News shouts about how great they are, people eat them despite the horrible taste. Railroading makes sense here. Player agency, while designed in many instances, introduces a large variability in line to compete with the required GM improvisation, and thus in con games, player agency is more of a liability than a benefit. Exactly. When you have that fixed time limit, or limited run APs to some extent. I know that obviously Dimension 20 have said before about the. I think I read an article about Dimension 20's. I think it might have been Brennan Lee Mulligan talking about the because they have the pre-built sets, pre-built props that they have to use. So they obviously have to. It's balancing railroading and player choice. Now, if the last hobnob in the house, you're vindicated. Eddie has the power. Yeah, so they just avoided that combat essentially, and then they came from classified game. Probably have some time to talk about that as well. But they, as you were asking about the combat, I may have fudged the rules slightly because I wasn't as familiar with them as I ought to have been. I was pretty on top of it, I think, but I admitted my mistake on the stream because you should always admit mistake. You should always own up to mistakes in front of players you don't know because they may play with you again. I deploy the illusion of choice wherever possible. Exactly. They actually teleported thanks to a cinematic to the end of the adventure. So they ended up having the climactic fight halfway through, and that was fine. You know, it wasn't designed to be difficult. Because it's a con game, there was supposed to be a countdown timer in that scene as well, but because they got there too early for it to make narrative sense for the countdown timer to be active, there was no time pressure. So it all went gloriously off-piste, which is just they came from in a nutshell. It was challenging, but it wasn't. I don't think they were ever in any doubt of any. I don't think they were at any risk of being defeated. And had they been halfway through the adventure, I think I would probably have rewritten things so that they weren't defeated. You know, there's a recall of the gods or whatever for a reason, to allow them a chance to catch their breath and continue onwards. And then the actual end scene of that, the actual final fight, I don't believe anyone was. I think out of the 4 players, 2 of them remained uninjured, or one of them only had 1 injury. The 2 frontliners may have been at half health. I think they were both rolling an extra 2 archetype die when applicable. In response to monster attacking follower SGC, when I run horror games, I feel more comfortable killing SGC as a way to scare the PCs. It shows the monster is a legit threat and gives them a free moment to run. This is how I run unkillable enemies against players, and if they decide to stand their ground, I have already signaled the creature is dangerous. Absolutely, yes. Particularly if it's unkillable, telegraph that as far in advance as possible. And as you say, it's on the players at that point. They have chosen death. So that was fine. During the adventure, during the actual play, they engaged with both the investigation and the social intrigue rules, and they gave me a chance to explain them to the players and to the audience watching. Because an actual play, particularly during a convention, and specifically during a publisher-specific convention, ideally the actual play is functioning as a way of introducing the audience, as introducing potential customers to the game, whether they're audience or player. And if it's as easy as possible to understand how the game works, very much so, which is why I prefaced the actual play with any mistakes on my own, and why I owned up to my mistakes during the classified one-shot. And then the final scene in the adventure is written, they can either have a fight with the people fighting in the village on the edge of the Dreaming Sea, or they have a fight with the spider. They aimed towards the village and completely de-escalated that situation, which was fantastic. Had plenty of story seeds there going forwards if this had been a continuous thing. And then, as I say, they left with enough time to fight the Arachnida, but the poor thing only has 7 health. It was on fire, and they were immune to damage for 5 turns. Again, I'm not sure the Floral Fortress was used properly. I didn't have chance to read the rules, but it was a fitting end to the one-shot, and I didn't mind at all. That one did, however, severely injure Ipsy's character. So, kind of dangerous, but it's supposed to be. It's a solo encounter. So that's how the world below went. Again, I'll be doing more critical reflection and updating the adventure probably next time, depending on how things go. It may not be next time. The other actual play I ran, they came from Classified. Again, as I said, went gloriously off-piste. So, because it was a con game, I gave them a list of cinematics to use. So, for people who do not know, cinematics are a way for they came from players to break the rules. There's no 2 ways around it. It breaks the rules. And I gave them, ordinarily they're randomly drawn, or chosen, randomly drawn at the start of the session, but I gave them a list of cinematics that would probably be useful during the game itself. When I chose them, I was like, this is absolutely asking for trouble, and it sure as heck did ask for trouble, but we'll get onto that in a moment. So, much as with the World Below I had a brief conversation with my players beforehand. When I sent out that AP survey, I find most of the players rank the 3 pillars of TTRPG gameplay in order of priority: social, investigation, combat. Yeah, I mean, most role playing itself is a social hobby, so even if you're fighting, you're still talking. Anyway, that vibes with conversations I've had with other people. Yes, like with The World Below, this was a 3-scene one-shot. I knew, again, I'd have about half an hour for the intro, and then like an hour to an hour and a half for the finale, and then the middle scene will take up however much of that it did. So scene 1, much as with The World Below, it's like, how do I get the players talking? How do I get them thinking about their character? How do I get them introduced to each other? No, scratch that. I was talking about pre-actual play conversation. With They Came From Classified, it's always useful to have a conversation about how much your players want to engage with the conceit that you're emulating a genre of media and you're not actually playing a spy game in this instance. So, like, my read aloud text references stock, like that something is stock footage, for example, but I didn't know if my players would be happy with that, or if they wanted to play it, straight, play it serious, and allow the comedy to evolve out of that. They were happy for me to keep references to stock footage and things in, so that was fine by me. I like to lean on that aspect of it because I really like that aspect about that They Came From games, is that you do have the tropes and the cinematics and the trademarks and things, and you can that's where a lot of the enjoyment comes from for me. So I had the setup for the adventure was that it was the second part of a 2-part pilot episode, and something had gone wrong in the first part. So they obviously need to know what they're doing. So I gave them a briefing which introduced the apparent villain of the one shot and gave them their mission parameters and asked them kind of how their characters react to the briefing and how their body language is while they're in the briefing room, just to get them thinking about things and get that kind of introduction going. Get that brief conversation, and then a recap of stuff that hasn't happened at the table but has happened in universe, and then as I say, something goes wrong, and ask which of them made a mistake. And obviously, you're either going to have one of two responses here. You're going to have it was absolutely me. This is what happened, which is what I really like to do because it takes the burden off other people, or what actually happened, dead silence, which is when I called for a dice roll, and it was just whoever loses the dice roll it is the one that made the mistake, and then asked them what their mistake was. Practical question: when running a game for a con where the game has mechanics to offer players a lot of agency requiring the GM to improvise, sometimes heavily, how does the GM maintain the player time balance as well as staying within the con constraints? So that's what happened here. That's what happened to the classified game, because they fully embraced the player agency and kind of skipped the second scene entirely. I always liken GMing to that one scene in Wallace and Gromit, The Wrong Trousers, I think it is, the one with Feathers McGraw, where there's a high-speed chase on an electric train set, and Gromit is frantically putting the tracks down in front of his train as he's chasing this penguin through the house. And to me, that's like the GM. The box of track pieces is the adventure, and the scenes that you think are likely to come up, and the world knowledge that you have. And the players are the train, and you're just putting stuff in front of them where it makes sense to put them. So, this adventure is 9 pages long. It's less than 4,000 words. So there's not that much to memorize. And obviously, if you're running it at con, you can print it out. I had this up for reference constantly during the event anyway. So just drawing on the knowledge that I have to fill in the gaps that they've created by making their choices, by having that agency of choice, to lead them to a point where it's a satisfying ending for you and for the audience and for the players. Because you do have to consider the audience as well. when it comes to con games, which is why I tried to explain everything for like the lowest common denominator of someone who has no knowledge of the game, because that's just important that the audience gets the enjoyment from it, gets as much enjoyment from it as possible by understanding what's going on. I hope that answered the question. It's basically just remixing the adventure to fit the remaining time available to you. I should have time to explain more about how I did that. Yeah, so after the players have been introduced to each other and have gotten talking, that's when the double cross happens, and the villain himself is double crossed by his second in command, and then he turns to them and asks them for help. And then, so this scene was very much a, hey, this is how the dice rolling works. There were no complications, but there was a complication to all of the rolls, but the complication only paid off if all three of the rolls that I had planned to ask for were, with the complication on them wasn't paid off. So it was 3 + 1 complications that functioned as a +3 complication across 3 rolls. That's where it went horribly wrong. Or went gloriously off-piste, I should say, because they came from, and one of the characters was just like, yeah, I can just make a hole in the wall because I have this thing that says I can. So those rolls didn't happen, and then I pointed out that they had the establishing shot cinematic, which could just take. So for context, the villain's argument was, I will free you if you let me go, essentially. To get my revenge later on my minion, on my subordinate. And so they freed him. And then they busted out of the room they were in, escaping the killer electric eels. It was going to be a whole thing. And basically just had a conversation that went on so long that I was like, yeah, at this point, the villain is just gonna run away because you're not paying any attention to him. And the adventure calls out that he will try to escape at every opportunity because it's a story seed, right? If he escapes, you have a recurring villain for your They Came From classified game. So then they had the conversation of, do we go after him? And then I reminded them that they actually had a mission to stop a rocket launch from delivering an unknown chemical payload to an unknown location. At which point I reminded them even though they don't know where they're going because they don't have him in the group anymore, they have the establishing shot cinematic, which allows them to functionally teleport to any location, regardless of where it is or however improbable it would be that they are there. So they took me up on that. They didn't know how they got there, but they ended up at the rocket bay, which is scene 3 of the adventure. Just scroll down to it. And then because they hadn't been through scene 2, I then had to reconsider the world state, so to speak, and figure out how the world would have changed without them doing the things that they'd done. I knew I wanted them to have the villainous showdown, and there was still an hour, like 2.5 hours left in the actual play, so they weren't going to have that here. So the villain, Dr. Gaius, wasn't going to be here. Oh, side note, Dr. Evan Ilmore is Dr. Evilmore. And Helena Gaius sounds a bit like Hell on Earth. So, just leaning into silly names for my villains. So she wasn't there, but I figured that the guards that were supposed to be there would still be there. So that's when the climactic fight kind of got shunted to about halfway through the actual play. Character distracted them and ran off, separated from the party. At which point, they do some stuff. They figure out roughly how to stop the launch, and they realize that they need to stop the villain so that they can get the key they need to deactivate the launch. And the villain, while they're there, is like, "Hey, I'm in a remote operations command center to stop the agents from foiling my plans like they did my predecessor." Which is then when we go back through scene 2 and the rooms that I had created for scene 2. only needed to use one of them to fill the time in the end, because they ran into a roaming pack of guards, and I felt so. To represent the escalating situation, this scenario has two things. There's a countdown timer, which is present in two of the scenes. There's the base self-destructing, and there's the rocket launching. And the countdown timer is basically, when you activate the countdown timer, you add one rewrite to the pool, and then if the pool is ever at 0, the countdown has ended. Because it's a role-playing game, keeping track of real-time stuff in a role-playing game is nigh impossible anyway, and the genre is powered by dramatic timers, not, chronological timers. And then, had it been relevant, I would have had complications that remove rewrites from the pool. Just to ramp up the tension even more. But if you want that timer, go ahead, use it. It's in the They Came From general channel. They Came From classified channel in the Onyx Path community Discord server. On the Onyx Path, community Discord server. Use it, have fun with it, whatever. The other one is an escalating series of events that starts with an alarm being raised, and then patrolling guards, and then the self-destruct sequence. So when they actually ran into a group of patrolling guards, I realized that, hey, this player's been distracting the hench people for long enough. I can bring them back into the scene this way. And they had the fight with the patrolling guards, which is where I made a series of minor mistakes regarding how combat works and They Came From, because there are so many implementations of the StoryPath rules in my head that I couldn't remember off the top of my head immediately how it worked, and I couldn't find it in the rulebook at a moment's glance. So it took like 3 rounds of combat for me to figure out what I was doing wrong. Everyone was fine with it, and consistency is important. When you go wrong, stay wrong until the right opportunity occurs to fix your mistake. Which usually in a combat scene is, when once a round has finished, introduce the actual proper rule. But because that took so long, I then just moved on to the end, and the also, side note, during that fight, they made it a lot easier on themselves with an extremely good use of the convenient double agent cinematic. Shout out to Brian with a Y, one absolute hero. Which also gave them one of the 2 keys they needed for the deactivate rocket launch, the remote rocket launch abort procedure. Because everyone knows 2 keys turn at the same time, and they press a red button. But because I knew that we were running out of time at that point, and that we wouldn't have the time to go through the remaining 3 rooms I'd written into scene 2, ending in the power plant, which was going to explode, it was all going to be a horrendously dramatic thing, but it was also a complex action with 5 milestones. I was like, you're just going to get to... I decided they're just going to get to the end of the adventure, and face the villain. Figure out a way into the operations center, face the villain, and then escape. Because, realistically speaking, once they stop the rocket launching, they don't need to turn the self-destruct off. They just need to get out of there. And the self-destruct will just take care of the base. And that's what happened. So, I guess the retrospective more for They Came From than The World Below is because They Came From games are less grounded in, I guess, narrative causality. There is, even during the 3-hour limit of a con game, even within the extremely rigid constraints. Thank you so much for that Prime Gaming subscription. With that subscription, you can now watch all of the panels from the recent Onyx Path Virtual Convention, Onyx Path Publishing Virtual Convention 2024, that are stored as video on demand on this channel. Yes, because They Came From games are less constrained by narrative causality. Players have a lot more freedom to do whatever they want to run roughshod over the adventure. So if I were writing this again for a con game, I would probably do sorry, not if I were writing it. When I come to add my reflections to this, maybe next time, huge star next to that, maybe next time, I will probably have a list of, hey, if the players do this, here are some, or if things go gloriously off-piste, here are some options to keep them within the bounds of the adventure, but to reward the player creativity, like with the remote operations center, with allowing them to save Brian with a Y at the last minute because they were very attached to him in the 4 rounds of combat. They knew him. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Short of a more in-depth retrospective, possibly. Oh, thanks, Zach. I really appreciate that. Shout out to the hype train. Yeah, I think that's obviously there's not going to be too much information in the new information in the whatever episode of the show I focus on this to update these adventures, because I've kind of discussed most of it today during the show, but during this stream. But I felt like I wanted to give my perspective. I wanted to recap the announcements because those are fresh for people who didn't know them. Then I wanted to talk about my experiences at the con for people who may be interested in that. Odd D&D module problem. Okay, so the Sorcerer's Tower has anti-fly field. The outside walls have anti-spider climate. Yeah, exactly. Like, how are you supposed to get in there? Yeah, like my experiences running tech for the con, how that process works, and then for my games during the con. I've teased this a couple of times, and I'll finally do it. If you have enjoyed the con and you're like, yeah, I kind of fancy running an actual play for Onyx Path Publishing, or a show like this where it's so for new people here, this is not the common format of my show. My show is usually I write community content and I talk through my writing process and I give writing tips, basically. But if you have any idea for a show, whether it's an actual play, by all means steal my show format. I really don't mind. The more people writing and removing that barrier to entry, the better. Anything at all. There is a Google form. Dropping the link in chat now. There is a Google form which allows you to submit your ideas to Onyx Path Publishing. And you may find yourself running tech for next year's Onyx Path Virtual Con. Please do not take this as an announcement for OP Virtual Con 2025. I have no idea if it's going to be a thing. I suspect it probably will be, but no official announcement. I do not work for Onyx Path yet. So yeah, if you want to join the glorious heights of streaming for Onyx Path, that's how you do it. Pitch a show. Maybe you'll be successful. Just as a quick refresher, Curseborn announced at the Virtual Con. You can buy the Ash Can here. It's already in the Electrum Cellar. It's the 5th best-selling title on Drive-Thru RPG as of time of recording. It's the best-selling under $5 title. It'll give you everything you need to know to get a good overview and understanding of Curseborn, as well as get you started with the rules. With the final, with the rulebook itself being on, I think it was back a kit I saw, being on a crowdfunding campaign in October. Other things announced at the convention being the next Exalted 3rd Edition book is Infernals. The next crowdfunding campaign from Onyx Path Publishing will be a Scion book called Mythic Shards, which is a toolkit for a variety of settings. Should get an affiliate link at DTRPG for sharing the link. I really don't mind. I mean, I could set one up, I have an account, but I don't mind. Thank you for being here, Awkward Jim. I really appreciate the support. No Gods, No Masters being a chronicle book for Scion will be on sale on Wednesday. Pugmire, and he talked both about threats and curs. Again, I may have inside information. You may want to pick that up when it becomes available. As well as a book tentatively entitled The Expansion of the Realms, which again, I will be paying attention to in the hopes that Senpai notices me. Trinity Continuum Steam Wars being a Napoleonic era Earth with steam-powered humanoid war engines, a an offshoot from the main Continuum timeline, as well as the Monster Kingdoms Earthbane game, being the third game in the Earthbane cycle. And that's it. Any of the content that you missed during the virtual convention is the panels certainly are available video on demand here at twitch.tv/the Onyx Path. Available immediately for subscribers. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account for a Prime Gaming account, which gives you 1 free subscription per month. I knew we'd get Smiley on soon. Can neither confirm nor deny. I don't know how it works for the actual plays elsewhere, but certainly for everything on this channel, you need to be a subscriber to watch them immediately. They will be sent over to the YouTube realm in the weeks to come for people who are not subscribed to the channel. Also, please note that right now there is a Kickstarter running for a game that Onyx Path Publishing is working in conjunction with the Badana Group. Is supporting the Badana Group to make, let's say. Called Branch Riders. I was in 2 actual plays of it over the weekend. It's such a fun game to play. It's so simple and intuitive to pick up, and I can definitely see it having a wide-ranging appeal outside of the therapeutic context that it can also be used for. Have a work meeting and catch you soon. Sure thing, on Stable Dares. Thank you for swinging by. I think those are kind of the major points. I have been, and will continue to be until I legally change my name, Ryan, or Comrade Bubbles. I stream on Twitch, which is where I'll be in half an hour's time. I do not stream actual play content all that often on my channel anymore, unfortunately. But I'm always happy to talk about role-playing games, NDAs permitting. Yeah, I think that's it. This video will be up on my YouTube channel in a week's time, unless Onyx Path particularly want it. I'm happy to allow Onyx Path to use this video on for their YouTube channel purposes. It makes more sense thematically for them to do that, I guess. So I will leave that up in the air. We'll see where this video eventually appears. But I should be back in 2 weeks' time, 2nd of August, with more. Last Night Branch Riders looks like Amber, but for an audience which doesn't want to commit to 1,400 pages of world content. Fair. Yes, I should be back in 2 weeks' time. We'll see. As always, it's supposed to be. I will have a think, but I think it probably makes the most sense to be up on your YouTube channel, as it is directly related to the con. So it may be up at youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles with the rest of the behind-the-screen content, or it may be on Onyx Path's YouTube channel. I don't know the YouTube URL off by heart, like I do with my own. If you want it over on OPP's YouTube, we're happy to have it there. Thank you. No worries. No, like I feel like thematically, as you're going to be having all the panels and actual plays, I assume it makes sense for this to be over there as well as like a, hey, this is a creator who was involved and their perspective on it. Obviously, the first half of the stream was just me recapping the announcements and the convention and goofing off with you and Eddie, and Zach, and Corbin, but there we go. Anyway, I think that's all that I have time for today and wanted to talk about today. So maybe see you in 2 weeks' time. There's a bird outside screaming. Hopefully that wasn't picked up on the microphone. Yeah. Don't know what I'll be doing in 2 weeks' time. It may be working on the updating these adventures and doing more reflection, but who knows? Most of our streams involve some level of goofing off. That's true. I also keep dropping the things I'm fidgeting with to keep me on track, so that's great. Yes. So I am on. If you do want to follow me for my random thoughts on a variety of things or actual plays that I may be involved with, I am on Blue Sky. It is comradebubbles.bsky.social. I am active on the Onyx Path community Discord server, reasonably active anyway. Highly recommend you join that, just for answers to any questions you may have. Please do come back in 2 weeks' time. You know what? Please do keep an eye on Onyx Path social media posts and the Monday meeting notes to see if I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. If you have liked the show, I assure you it is usually much more focused and work and writing related. But until next time, please do stay safe, please do stay healthy, please do stay wholesome. I need to remember to change the stream title, and I will see you all somewhere on the internet.